Hello and welcome back to Elliott's podcast. I'm happy to announce that this week I have a special show because I've played music in nature, specifically a park. And so this episode I talk first and then I will cut to the video, and that will be the end of the show. So this is sort of a project that I've been looking to do for a while, and I just hadn't, I couldn't bring myself to do it, which is to literally pick up an instrument and pack up some video gear and then go play music in a park. It sounds simple, but it definitely took me a while to come around to doing it. And this week I did do it. And so I'm interested in ideally kind of making it my whole thing. It's especially very good for like Patreon and Buy Me Coffee. It really gives a bit of a mission to rile around, because my interest is in playing music. I'm interested in nature and taking video of nature, and this combines it really well. And it gives us something to rally around, which is some kind of hope, is the best way I can put it, because something uplifting in a way. I think it is a little depressing that we are collectively burning the planet up into smoke, and this is something that we can all say, hey, I think it's very nice to at least just spend time in nature and to take video of it. And I've done a lot of that on this podcast. I often overlay, and actually on this video I will probably overlay some nice sunset footage that I got this week as well. So this podcast is kind of starting to operate in a way that I envisioned, which or actually never really envisioned, but like that it's a packing up of the week in review and Elliott's mini creative endeavors. And the park that we are showing this week is called Winston Churchill Park, which is in the middle of Toronto in the Lower Village. So this is Forest Hill, very affluent neighborhood. Also dips. It's actually specifically an area called South Hill, a really beautiful neighborhood. And Winston Churchill Park is kind of the top of the hill, and this is the hill. Yeah, this is the hill. Like Toronto has a huge hill on it, which was created through, I think Lake Ontario used to be at this high point of the city, and the lake receded, and we have this huge hill, and anyone who rides a bicycle in the city knows that hill because it's a brutal hill. So this park is at the top of the hill. St. Clair Avenue West is the top of the hill. And Winston Churchill Park, so when I do these in the future, there'll probably be dedicated videos, and I really want to spend more time in the park and take more footage in the park and talk in the park and feature the park. And it could even be a parkette. It doesn't have to be a big park. But I did a little video that it wasn't that good. I did try to do one of these, but the video that I made, I really just plopped down at the top of the park. In specifically, that means I didn't go into the ravine. So Winston Churchill Park is linked to something called the Nordheimer Ravine, which is a nice, interesting nature walk, and it takes you down into, when you finish that ravine, you will start to get into the real part of heading into the downtown of Toronto. And what I didn't realize until I went there on a weekday, on a Thursday, and I didn't realize that the park is very big into tennis. Like there were tons of retired people playing tennis there, and there was like a proper clubhouse. It was official, like lessons, tennis, like So that's definitely seems to be a big feature of the park. There's also a pump state of something called the Valve Station, which is a historic landmark that's been left there. Obviously that sounds like something involving water delivery to the city. I wonder how far back that goes. But really, I just plopped myself down there and I played some music. And this project is going to be interesting because there is a lot of work involving playing music outside and recording it. And one of the tools that I have, it just happens to be in front of me right now, is my portable recorder, but I have to have a dead cat on it, which is this thing, because any amount of wind will make the microphone go a little wonky. Excuse me. And then you do the video as well, and then you pair it up after. But I think there could be all kinds of possibilities for doing this, playing different instruments or doing different types of musical projects, multi-track recording, because it really is a nice way for me. Like I'd say the big fear that I had to get over a lot for this podcast was playing the music that you see me sitting in a chair and playing. And then that was like stage one was just like doing a podcast and starting it. And then stage 2 would have been playing music for this. And then the next stages are really playing out in public. And then when that's complete, we will say that this podcast has done its job and it's run its course for taking you to another level. And before we get over to the showing that video, I listened to an audiobook today that took 2 hours to listen to because it's a short book, and I was running some errands, so I was able to do the whole book in the day, and it was called Do Walk by Libby Delana, and it's part of the Do book series. So they might look familiar to you if you're into kind of design stuff. And I don't know where I got the recommendation, but it checked out and it was very nice. So the book was about Libby's ritual that she goes for a walk every morning, and she's been doing it for a really long time, and it's her project. And she treats it like these are long walks really early in the morning. I think 5 a.m. she starts out, and she does them every day, no matter what the weather is. That's her thing. And it's a ritual. And I would say my one has been Do Podcast. And I really recommend it for people. I thought it'd be funny if people even did one where they didn't even share it with the world. They just made it. And then every week they check in, because Libby's book really is similar to the idea of, she mentions it in the book, and I've talked about it before as well, which is morning pages, which are journaling in the morning. And you could easily substitute everything she said in that book about walking for journaling. And in my case, I'm kind of interested in a different ritual, which is called Wake Up and Ambient. I know that sounds so wacky, but I have done it in the past where you actually wake up, I wake up early, and instead of like exercise, you like go right to your station, in this case in this room, and you play ambient music. The reason for it is like you're so asleep, like you're half asleep early in the morning. It's a little harsh to say wake up and play funk music. It's very much possible, because look at how upbeat like a lot of exercise is. There could be something very therapeutic about wake up and like play the funk, play the funk. But I think it's a more sustainable ritual to say wake up and play soft music, record that music, and instead of journaling, that becomes sort of a form of journaling where you wake up and you work through that music. And I guess what I'm trying to do is create a ritual, hopefully, of getting out there and playing music in a park or in nature. And so Libby's book there was a lot of good, it's such a short book because that's what that series is meant to be. They're kind of easy reads on different topics that I guess creative people that they've kind of contracted different creative people. Like Libby comes from the advertising industry, and there's a lot of great quotes about how the walking clears your mind, and all fears and all doubts get exercised through this process. And I think one of the big takeaways was that it's a practice that you never feel worse about in the end. And the fact that it happened early in the day means that the effects trickle onwards, because it's not like you woke up and answered emails that really bothered you and then the rest of your day you're really bothered. It's the opposite. It's you woke up and you in her case, she went for that walk, and she does admit some of the days, like the weather is awful, or that she's not feeling well, and so she has kind of a short walk, but she says that you always do feel better when you've finished this practice. And I would say from doing the podcast, like they always give me a bit of anxiety before I sit down to record. And then when it's done and edited, I always do feel better, like something had been accomplished. And I would say that to do the video that we're about to play, that I definitely was like hesitant to get out there and set up my gear. And I always wondered, like, would people look at me funny? And I think once you start playing, it's like, yeah, we'll see in the video. I haven't really watched it that much, but I think people do walk by and they're kind of looking at what I'm doing, because I have a tripod in this recorder. And I think the big takeaway that I can share with you that helped me do it is, like, you have to trick yourself into saying that this is just a test recording, because it really was. Like, if it was all a failure, then I could have just thrown it away and dusted myself off and then tried it again with what I learned. And to be honest with you, the first bit that I recorded, I didn't hit record on the audio, and the audio was the real one that was usable, because my camera couldn't record with the wind. So there was actually the first take where I was like, it did not record. And I said, okay, then let's I hit record and just got on with it. And the long and short of all this is that, yeah, I could have come home and trashed it, and then, or found out there was a technical problem. But to get out the door, you just have to sort of trick yourself into saying it's a test. And I have said it before that a good way to work through that issue on your own is to say everything is kind of a demo tape, a study. Studies are in, and I've talked about that before for sure, is that in the art gallery, you often see before a big painting, the artist has often made a small little one before, so that they can test things, they can get the composition right, and then they do it on the big painting, and where they use more paint, which costs money and time. So everything's all just a little test, a demo mode, a demo test. It's the way forward. So yeah, I think I've covered everything here. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this, and I'm going to reformat my Patreon in my Buy Me a Coffee to say, what you're supporting now is you used to be supporting my music that I would put up online, and now you're supporting you are supporting that because you also, like, for example, in the case of the Patreon, you get downloads of my music in FLAC, and I do these monthly mixes where I make the download as well. And so you get that on the Patreon. But now the real point is that you're supporting Elliott, Elliott's journey to move from being in the house to playing out in public. And the company from Montreal that is called Moment Factory, they used to have a slogan that we do it in public, which because they're all about art installation and technology. And I always love that analogy. And the funny thing is that to do it in public was always, the pandemic never took that away. I remember seeing that in Italy when the pandemic first hit, people would play music on their balconies. And there was stuff where like people would play music, even in Canada, they would go around to people's homes and play on the street so that they could give some positive vibes to people who were sort of quarantining. So the pandemic really never took away playing music in public, but someone would kill me if you just grab that little sound bite, but it did definitely kill, like, for example, patios. When they reopened like last summer in Toronto, they didn't have music on those patios often. I think for a while there was like rules, like everything was very cautious. They didn't really, music was not part of the reopening plans, and it was kind of like, let's not have this. We don't want, music stirs up people and creates commotion. And now actually it's great to see there is the Toronto Jazz Fest is this weekend in the neighborhood of Yorkville. I think mostly a free festival, and all kinds of there's dance music festivals, all kinds of stuff is reemerged in the obviously in the venue format, but the outdoor format. So I'm most excited about just sitting down in a park and playing. That's what really excites me the most. And hopefully one day to be able to maybe bring out a little mini crowd, to bring out some people, or do it live streams or whatever. But the real point is that we go to a park, we explore the park, we play music in the park, and the result is that we are recording music that has nature in it. There's a connection to nature. That's really where my head is at. My head is not at concerts and venues, and nothing to do with the pandemic maybe had a bit of an effect on that I just wasn't going to those things. But as an artist and a creator, that's I really, my focus is kind of laser honing in on, I practice my instruments, I write music, and now we're adding this on into the mix, and then we're going to see where this goes. And maybe one day I'll be able to do some art installations or something involving nature. There was a genre called land art that interests me. Sculptures in nature, appreciation of nature. So thank you for listening, supporting, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Here is Elliott playing in Winston Churchill Park in Toronto as the first park performance. Okay, so take care. See you soon.